Hello. Have you ever just felt like making a piece of jewelry and for no reason other than to test out your skills and form this beautiful shape? You'll find this is a really easy way to make a mandala. So let me show you step by step. Cut three lengths of copper wire 1 millimeter thick and 16 centimeters long each. Cut another length of 1 millimeter wire 35 centimeters long or 14 inches. Wind this wire around a shape. I've used my little tea tree bottle, which seems to be just the right size that I'm looking for. It also smells good. Take it off the shape and cut it through, straight through, so that each circle is exactly the same size and cut through. You're going to need three of them. Each curly shape is going to be started off with a tight little curl and then wind it up quite tightly or semi tightly as you want it to be. And then the other end has a small curl on it. And make sure that all of them are the same size. Curl all three of them to look the same, whether they're tight or loose, but make them look the same so they match up on your mandala. I think that this mandala shape has been a good reminder to me to start meditating again. I've kind of been a bit lazy about it lately, and I really find that it's beneficial. So, this should spur me on. When you've made your shapes, then I like to hammer them flat on the anvil because it gets a more finished look. It doesn't just look like a piece of curly wire, and it makes it shinier and more faceted as well. This method of making a mandala is much easier than first forming the circle and then building all the little elements into the middle of the circle. You're going to see that it is very easy to do and adaptable too to all sorts of shapes or stones that you want to include here. The fun starts now. You're going to use a long length of 0.4 millimeter wire. I would cut at least about 50 centimeters to start with, and then you can add on more if you need it. Taking your bundle of three wires that you cut in the beginning, begin to wrap them with the 0.4 millimeter wire near the end or the beginning and wrap 10 turns nice and securely, and then add one of those first curly shapes and binding it to your wire in the U end of that curl. Wrap 8 turns around so the shape, the curly shape, has been bound to your bundle. Wrap a few more wraps and then thread on a bead, and making sure it's in place on the top of the wire. Wrap a few more wraps along and then bind in the next curly shape. Just space them out so that they're all evenly spaced. So the curly shape is bound on, then you wrap about 3 times around the bundle going forward. Add your bead, wrap a few more turns, and add in the next curly shape. Wrap that onto the bundle and go on, add your bead, and so on till the end. So to recap, here's the bundle. You can see I've wrapped on one of the curly shapes. Then we go on to the bead. The bead is added. Wrap, wrap, wrap along, and then add in the next curly shape. There could have been a variation in these curly shapes. You could have threaded a few beads onto them or pre-wrapped them and then curled. Actually, that would look really good. And I'm thinking of all sorts of variations here. This project was purely for fun. I just had this great need to make a mandala, and I've been looking at pictures and thinking of shapes, and this has worked out really well. I really like the way this method works as well. So now we're getting near the end. You have wrapped on two shapes, your two beads. You're adding the last one and the bead after that. And then once you have wrapped all of these onto the main bundle, just do a finishing off wrap up to almost at the end. Don't do too many, I'd say about 10 wraps, just to secure that wire. And then you can go back over the wire with pliers just to squeeze it all together gently. And then we start the next step. Now is the fun. You're going to bend that shape gently up into a circle. So just make sure it all lines up first and then begin to bend very gently and don't rush it. There's no stress. As you're bending it into a circle, you'll see that all your little shapes that you bound on are now fitting into each other to form their own pattern. This is fun, isn't it? Adjust them as you go. You don't need pliers for this. Just use your fingers. Use your imagination to make a nice perfect circle and it will all fall into place. You'll see. Once it's shaped, take those two tails and bend them at a sharp angle up so that these are actually going to form your bail. If you don't have enough of the 0.4 millimeter wire as a tail, just add in more here and bring those two angles together and then wrap them together. Start at the bottom and build up to about halfway. Wrap this neatly because this is going to be the visible part of your bail. It has to look nice. You could even have woven this. That would also look very good. So you're wrapping upwards, wrap, 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 and it's all close together. As you wrap, just push it down so that it all goes back compressed on each other, not over each other, and it looks neat, like a nice solid wall of wrapping. This is up until halfway. At the halfway mark, then take your side little tails of that bail that you're winding. You don't need all of those wires now. Bend two on each side, down on either side of the bail. So two on the right, two on the left, and these two are going to be decorative as well. Once you've bent the two away on the right hand side, two on the left, then take up that wire again and continue wrapping your bail and wrap all the way up to the top. This is going to form a really nice looking wrapped bail. Quite plain, but I still like the look of it. Once you have wrapped right to the end, then just take the pliers and gently squeeze down the length just to secure all those wires and settle them in their place. Now there you are, you've completed the bail, and all you need to do now is bend it over to form a nice shape so that a cord or a chain can go through here. So let's do that now. You've bent the bail over in half and tuck it in towards the pendant. And then I find a neat way to finish this off is just to curl the end sideways. And then that actual little tail of the 0.4 millimeter wire can wrap around very quietly under all the decorative wires and be snugged in the middle in a little curl. I go into the middle of the bale and hide it away. So there are no little snaggy ends. I love the way this is shaping up, and you see how easy that was to make the shapes on the inside, and they were all laid out in a straight line, and not too much fiddling and faffing. I think this would be really pretty in a sterling silver wire and perhaps a bit smaller, almost a little dainty, smaller version of this one. I should try it. Tidy away all your little loose ends and curl them up, tidy them away. Now you're going to do those two little tails on either side of the bale. Here you could do anything. You can curl them up. You could add a few beads if you want to. I have just curled them over in almost a shepherd's hook shape and then with a little curl. And then by bringing the two front ones forward and together, it forms almost a little heart shape. So there is a lot you could do here with your own artistic talents. Once you have curled each of those little tails into the shape that you like, so there were two on the one side and two on the other side of the bale, and you can shape them into the same one that I have or your own version. Then you're going to begin just tidying up all the shapes. Make sure that everything is symmetrical and really just looks pleasing to the eye. Adjust where needed those three little central patterns that are in the middle of your mandala. Tweak them a little bit. Make sure they centered nicely so that they form their own pattern. And I have even tidied up the curl, the small curl. I bent it in a little bit. I thought it looked better. I can't wait to make more of these with many variations, more beads, more stones, perhaps a central stone in the middle of those three circles. Who knows? My imagination is running away with itself. I have so many ideas that I've already put into my sketchbook. Let me know what you make as well. I love the way this turned out. It is just such a pretty piece of jewelry. And thank you for watching. Bye bye.